Hi, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's reached out to ask how my dad is and how the rest of my family are in Jamaica since Hurricane Melissa a month ago. So I thought I'd do this quick update, and it seemed appropriate to do it from my kitchen because, as you can see behind me, is Dunn's River Falls, and that's my little tribute to Jamaica. So if I can set this down um, and just give you a bit of an update and see, because I'm so tall, I don't fit in the screen. So Hurricane Melissa happened a month ago, and I still haven't been able to speak to my dad in that time, but messages have started getting through a little bit indirectly. So he's okay. His house was damaged because he was in Montego Bay, right under the eye of the storm. But I've obviously, like everybody else, seen a lot of the videos of the devastation that's happened across the entire country. And although I'm 7,000 miles away, it's really made me think about what I would do if I was over there and how any of us start from scratch. And of course, there's people in the UK who've been through such devastation as losing their properties from flooding, for example. And so, because of climate change, this is becoming more and more an issue for everybody. And climate change has no respect for race, creed, or colour, or wealth. So, of course, last year we saw people in the Pacific Palisades with their houses burning down. Earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, they all can affect everybody. And then add to that the effects of climate change, which is bringing everything else. I think we all need to really rethink how we live, not just in terms of where we give planning permission and where we build, but also of our own skills. Because what I've seen in Jamaica is that people and communities are really coming together and everybody plays to their own strengths. So, for example, there's still a lot of flooding in Jamaica, and I saw a lot of the young men coming together. They picked up the fallen trees, somehow strapped the tree trunks together, and made rafts. And then they ferried people up and down the streets on their raft, and they even made a little seat. And so that's where their skills came to the fore. And I think a lot of Jamaicans are incredibly resourceful. The other thing that I saw is that the hospitals are flooded. The ambulances floated away in Montego Bay. They were all flooded and damaged. And so it's not just about having the infrastructure for somebody to go to if they're ill or wounded. It's about the doctors themselves having been through exactly the same as the rest of the public. So, who does the healthcare? Where do you go for healthcare? And this is where people need to know how to be self sufficient. How do you look after your own health? How do you look after the health of those in your family or in your community? And so, because, as I said, I haven't been able to speak to my dad, I don't know how I can help or what I can do to help. But it has really made me think very carefully about what this means for my business and where I go with my business. Because for 25 years, I've been in the business of helping people naturally. And I've worked with people one to one and given them advice about how to use your food as medicine, which herbs to take, how mindfulness and meditation can make a difference to your stress levels, which then improves your health. All sorts of things for overcoming long term chronic health problems. But it's also become really obvious that we don't learn this. This isn't something that's taught in schools. Most schools don't even teach nutrition. And when my children went to school, they were told in their cookery lesson that they had to take in a jar of ragu, a carrot, and an onion so they could learn how to make a stew. So, going back to this idea of using your food as your medicine, how can you do that if you're not taught how to do it? And so, my business, when I set it up in this one in 2007, it's called Barefoot Medicine. And that was named in deference to the barefoot doctors. And they existed in China many, many years ago to go to outlying communities, and they walked barefoot to those communities where there wasn't any medical provision. and they were teachers as much as they were doctors. So they would help people to reach the best health they could naturally with whatever resources were around, but they would teach people how to look after themselves and their loved ones and their community until the next doctor's visit. And so there was a real balance between conventional medicine when they had access to it, but natural lifestyle medicine when they didn't have access to it. And of course, if they were able to look after themselves better and they were willing to look after themselves and put the effort in, that made it easier for the doctor when he or she came around. Typically, it would have been he in those days in China. And I thought that was a really good idea, that about teaching people how to help them, how to help themselves. And so Barefoot Medicine was born. And now, with Hurricane Melissa having affected my family so directly, it's made me revisit the roots of my business. And so, in the space of the last week, you might have noticed I went quiet after doing my very public weight loss program. I've really got my head down and changed the way I do business. I've changed my website platform. And I now have a lot of courses up there teaching people what I have been teaching for the last 25 years. Because the other thing is, as you know, I practice functional medicine. So when I work with individuals, I do gut function testing, hormone testing, metabolic testing, environmental toxin testing, which is all good and well for those who can afford it. But many people can't afford those tests. And that's why I've now started publishing online courses so that you can learn what to eat to boost your immunity, or what to eat for menopause or improved fertility, or if your doctor's told you you've got type 2 diabetes. So as I'm publishing those courses, they're only 15 or 20 pounds each. And it's enough to get you started to know what to be looking for, what signs your body's trying to give you. So that's the starting point in Barefoot Medicine, but there are different ways that we can work together. So you begin maybe with the online courses, then maybe you would want to come to a group session. So I've got various group sessions starting in January. The first critical one actually is for parents who have children who are autistic, because I've published information before about the CHARGE study, Childhood Autism Risk from Genetics and Environment. And that shows very clearly that what an autistic child eats has a direct impact on the manifestation of their autism symptoms. So I've got a group coaching course throughout January to help parents understand more about that. There's also going to be a group coaching course for people who've been taking Mounjaro or some sort of weight loss drug, so that we can talk about the pros and cons of taking that, who can benefit from it, but also recognizing that the study came out, I got it 2 days ago, saying 82% of people who take Mounjaro, when they stop taking it, they put the weight back on. So I'm going to be explaining in this group coaching session why that happens and what you can do to avoid it. And then there's obviously, I still will be doing one-to-one consultations, but they will be fewer and far between, and I will be doing more group work. And I have also recently qualified as a corporate wellbeing coach. And so I'll be going into businesses to help them, because I don't know if you heard on the news that about 20% of the supposed workforce is actually not working at the moment. Some of this is due to stress, some of it is a follow-on from COVID, where people haven't got their energy back. And so I'll be working with businesses to show them the benefits and understand how they can support a workforce to be healthy, but also I can support the employees as well. And maybe they will use this platform with the online courses in their own time as well. So this is the winds of change, I've called it, from Hurricane Melissa, and how it's really made me think about how all our lives are changing and how we all have a role to play in our community. And so that's also why, welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to be making a lot more videos from here, showing you how to use food as medicine or herbs. And it's not pretty. Well, I mean, it is a pretty house, but I'm not going to be making it into some pristine kitchen, because quite frankly, cleaning a house like this is a full-time job in itself, and then I never get around to showing you what I do. So welcome to my kitchen. It is what it is. At the moment, what have I got going at the moment? I don't know how you can see it. Yeah, so we've got things fermenting here. I've got kombucha fermenting. There we go. Oh, I can. Excellent. It reaches. So this is my kombucha, and I've made it with lapsang souchong, organic lapsang souchong. That's the SCOBY in it. And because this is a continuous fermentation, I can just use the tap, drink from the bottom, and then keep topping it up at the top. Maybe I'll make a separate video about that. And then my husband's got some of the windfall apples. Whoops. The windfall apples fermenting there. So I'll be showing you what we do in our kitchen to use food as medicine, and also to have as minimal waste as possible. We've got all sorts of tips and tricks here, and I'll be sharing those a lot more widely than I have done in the past. So thanks for your time, and thank you. Let's make something positive come from Hurricane Melissa, where we all learn. If you want to find out more about this, then come and join the community, because I have set up a private community now for people who want to actually learn more about diet and lifestyle and mindfulness. Okay, so I'd love to see you there. It's at barefootmedicine.co.uk.